Hello everyone, I'm going to use this simple block here to demonstrate how to use reference geometry to make more complex features in a solid model. Now, before we get started, I want you to notice where my origin is. It's denoted by this blue coordinate system. If I go into my sketch, you'll also be able to see how I drew this part. In the past, we've been drawing everything in sketches at the center or at the origin of the sketch plane, but here I got a little lazy and I just went from the corner to make my rectangle. Now, what would happen if I wanted to make a feature that was going to go right in the middle of this rectangle? Well, I could use something called reference geometry, and where you'll find that is in the Features tab of the Command Manager. If you click on this, you'll see that you are able to create reference planes, axes, and even entirely new coordinate systems and reference points. You can also create a center of mass feature, which will just show you where the current center of mass is. And then mate references are a little more complex. They have to do with assembly files. I'm going to quickly introduce reference geometry using the plane option, and then I'll let you break into groups and explore some of these other ones on your own. So I'll click on plane to start the property manager for creating a new reference plane. And you'll see that at first, all that's available to me is to choose references. So if I wanted a plane right in the middle of this part, or I can also explain that as in between this face and this face, I could click this face and this face, and it automatically defaults to the mid-plane option. The mid-plane option is selected here, and my references show up in these two boxes. Notice I could also choose a third reference, but right now my plane is fully defined, meaning it has full definition. If I didn't want a mid-plane, I could do an offset plane by a certain distance. Here I could set my distance for how much I wanted my plane to be offset from the face that I had originally selected. And I can change the direction by clicking on Flip Offset. So say I wanted it 0.75, or say I wanted it 2. But to continue on in my example, I'm going to choose the mid-plane option and press the green check mark. You can see that the plane looks kind of tiny, but I want you to remember that planes are strictly theoretical. Their length and width are infinite, meaning I could stretch this however far I wanted to, but SolidWorks has confined it to this box just for my convenience so that the graphics area looks more clean. Now that I've created this plane, I can sketch on this plane just by right-clicking on the plane and clicking Sketch. And then I can go on to make my geometry whatever I was going to make. Like say right now I'll do a simple ball. And then revolve this. Features like this, they seem highly difficult to create, but with reference planes, it becomes really easy. Now this plane here is still showing. It would kind of be nice to hide this right now as I continue on in my model. To do that, I can right-click on the plane and choose Hide. Let's try a different kind of plane. So I'll go up to Reference Geometry, click Plane, and this time I'll click the bottom left point the top left point and then the far right point. By clicking on those 3 points, those 3 references, I create a plane that intersects at all 3 of those points. And again, I can see at the top of my property manager that my plane is fully defined, so I'm going to create it. And now I can sketch on this plane. I'm going to expand it just a little bit so that it's easier to see. And I can start sketching on this plane to create complex geometry. For example, I'm going to draw a circle at the midpoint of this corner. And then extrude it. And then I'll hide my plane that I created. Features like this we just couldn't get without reference geometry. Now, this is going to be a term that you are going to want to write down because we don't use reference geometry that often, but it becomes crucial in modeling exercises. And as long as you know the term, for example, reference geometry, you can go to the SOLIDWORKS help and search reference geometry, and you'll get a list of resources on that include that key term. To learn more about reference geometry, I would scroll down until I see something that has the title reference geometry. Click on that, and then you'll see links to how to create planes, axes, center of mass points, etc. For example, if I click planes right now, I'll be directed to more resources. Creating planes sounds good because that's what I want to do, and it shows me how to create a plane. You'll also notice that you have related topics on the right here, and if you go to the way left to the organization tree, you'll be able to find your topic in the list, and right next to it are all of the other topics that are related. And then there's axes, center of mass points, coordinate systems, reference points. So I could click on, say, plane property manager, and I get all of the information about the icons that appear in the plane property manager, and use this and my experimentation to figure out how these things work.